Welcome to 60 Scales and the Truth, a podcast where amazing guitar players reflect on their lives and on how they got where they are today. My name is Niels. I'm a journalist, podcast maker and a guitar fanatic. Thanks for tuning in. My guest today is, in a way, the antithesis of Yngwie Malmsteen, who on record said, "How can less be more? That's impossible. More is more." Well, my guest today is a big believer in less is more. For him, every note counts. He's not only a great guitarist, but also an amazing songwriter and a great singer. Welcome to this episode, Ariel Posen.
Thank you.
Ariel, when did you first really grasp that every note basically needs its breathing space, so to say?
I feel like I've always known it. I feel like we all know it, but when we play, it's all about restraint, and we don't have restraint, and we just want to play all the notes because it's more fun and it's more,
If
it's
you're a
more
kid, you want to show off, right?
Well, no, I'm just talking. Even adults do this,
Yeah.
like you just want to let it all out because it's a form of expression, and it's like this thing that we've worked on that you want to just do everything you can at once. But once you get into the nuance of it and realize, wait a minute, what do I like to listen to? What makes things special when it's meaning and impact from the moment. So you can have a lot of everything, but you got to have time to take it in and listen to it, go, okay, now what? Rather than just endless, constant barrage of noise. It just keeps going and going, where it's hard to just take it. This is my experience too, by the way. This is just what I like. So I don't know. I think I've always known it. I constantly battle with oh yeah, right. You're playing way too much. Take a break. Let go of the guitar. Take a couple beats, rest, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I think it's something we'll all definitely always struggle with, because more is more. You just, why you practice something to play it. You don't practice something to not play it. Yeah. But when you don't play it, it's amazing what it does for you. I think it makes you sound better. But
by the way, who's listening? We were in a hotel lounge, so yes. People are making espressos and whatnot. Yes. So that's why there's some background sound. But for me, it's interesting that goes within your songs, but also in your solos, that approach, but also in your set. I saw you play yesterday, right? It's not that every song has a 5-minute solo. In the end, wow, it's there. You make people hungry that way. Yeah,
pardon me. Less is more. I think I personally feel like first of all, the songs are not vehicles for a solo, Yeah. A solo is just one section of a song. So I'm not out here trying to just solo all night. I just want to play songs. But, I find things are more special when you don't have endless amounts of it. So for me, there are some players who are more focused on the soloing and the improvising for their show, and that's what it's all about. And I totally love that. For me, I'd rather have a mix where it's a little more accessible. So if people are coming to the show, they know that I'm a guitar player, but a singer too. They can enjoy songs. And get a little guitar, and then the guitar players or the musos still get enough playing. There's a lot of guitar in the show, but not there's only a couple extended solos in the whole show. So I feel like it makes for a balance. Not too much of anything, not too little of anything. I don't want people walking away oh man, it was just all noodling all night, or oh, he didn't play any noodle. He didn't noodle at all tonight. You got to find a balance where it's happy for everybody. You
said in an interview also once, if you play great things the whole time, it makes less impact. You quote Ariel Posen. Would you still agree? Or?
What I probably meant is just too much of anything, whether it's bad or good. There's no balance. And when there's no balance, it kind of everything becomes white noise even outside of music. You know what I mean? In life and stuff like that. So I think that's what that quote probably was referring to.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just about piecing a puzzle together and like making a good show. So a show isn't about how many solos, how many features for the band, how many this or that. It's about like a journey for, and I was listening to an interview with this band a few weeks ago, and it really made me rethink everything, because we as artists tour and we play shows and we write songs, record albums, and we put all this work into it and go on. And then like we show up here in Rotterdam, this is our second time playing Rotterdam. We've always had a really, really, really good night at that Roadtown place. And, I'm obviously going to compare it to the last time we were there, because it's my only comparison. And I go in there. I don't think like this anymore, but this is what I'm getting to, is like, previously I'd think about it and be like, okay, this is our show, let's go. But really it's like, it's their show. It's the people that are attending the concert's show. And we're just trying to provide like a really nice time for them. So I've kind of changed my mentality of it's like, well, obviously it's my show. I'm trying to play well and I want it to be good, but it's for them and it's their experience. So, that's why I'm cognizant of all that stuff.
That you say that, because playing live, of course, is I was talking to an architect this morning, who in a way is also a hybrid form of an artist and somebody you have to live in the house.
Yeah.
And that goes for that as well. With like, for who am I there, right? For me as an artist and it's my expression. I'll do what I want, and it's probably also a balance, right? And a search, right?
For sure. Absolutely.
So you said I changed my mentality in that. What made you change that? Was that interview you referred to, or?
Yeah, I think it's more so just trying to look at it with a more open mind, as not as this closed in. It's our show and we do our thing, and whether you like it or not, whatever. I mean, like, it is our thing we're doing, and like we're not catering to anybody. Like, people come to the shows because they want to see what we do. But at the same time, just the perception of like, if you ever have a show where you're like, the crowd, last time they were way louder. It's like, maybe they weren't drinking as much tonight. Or like you get in these things and you're like, that doesn't matter. It's a perfect example are bands that like, played a consistently, great selling shows, and then you have a show and like 10 people are there. If you ever have that experience, and like, you never want to throw that experience. Like, even though there's 10 people there, the people on stage tend to think, screw these people. Like, why isn't anyone else here? But those 10 people are the ones you need to be so thankful for, and make sure you're still giving them that experience, because they're the ones that showed up. It's everyone else that's not there. So it's just, it's all about, first of all, it's like having gratitude and stuff like that too, but just making sure it's their experience first and foremost.
So who are the people in your life with who you can reflect about this? Because it's quite a vulnerable position in a way, to be on stage with your own name, right? And like, this is a process as well, not just as a musician, but as a human being, I suppose. Like, how do I position myself there, and why am I there? For who is it? Like,
well, definitely the guys in my band and crew, because they're there every step of the way, and they come along for the ride. They are the ride, you know what I mean? Like, they're just as much a part of it, but they know that I have a few more responsibilities and things and a lot of just more pressure on my back, so to speak. So they're always very supportive in hearing that. And my wife and I, basically every other friend in the industry that does a similar thing. It's always comforting to talk with them, and everyone can be at different experiences or different levels, but it's all the same at the end of it, so it's nice. That's definitely the people that are going to hear you the most.
You said that balance goes in life as well, searching for that balance. Can you elaborate a little bit on that? Like, because I'm in these interview series, I try to reflect also, like, how are the people in relation to their music, right? Are you in life the kind of guy you'd expect from listening to your music?
I would say so. Yeah. The music I write and make, I mean, I'm just unapologetically me. I'm try to be as authentic and honest with it. I'm not putting on an act. I'm not putting on a character. I mean, maybe when I'm on stage, I turn up the stage volume a bit. It's personality wise, like, but I'm me. I'm not like acting like anyone else. And in the songs too, I'm like, I write about my own experiences, or I write about people's that I know experiences. So what you get is what you get, you know?
Yeah. But about these songs, I mean, your last album, like, your songs are beautiful, man. And like,
Thank you.
It's, I don't know if what question will come out of this, but the sensitivity of these songs and the lyrics as well, they make great impact, I have to say.
Thank you.
In what way are you, what have you learned as a songwriter? That's basically my question in the last few years.
I feel like I'm trying to still continue to learn. I feel like I haven't fully learned, if that makes sense. Like it's an endless journey of
course, as an
trying
artist,
to get better.
Yeah.
I think
I'm trying to ignore the cappuccinos here.
I like the sound of it.
Yeah.
I look back at my previous work as a writer, and like, you know, you want to always improve, but I don't even think improving is the word. It's like evolving. So yeah, you want to get better. Yeah, you want to say more relatable and like things that connect with people, and like tell good stories, and like actually say something instead of just have a song that are just words essentially, and not you know, because you can write a song and not really say anything at all. So really just like trying to write the best songs as possible and just keep doing it. And like the more I do it, like I've started writing again beginning of 2024. I haven't written really all of last year because we were on tour so much. Reasons Why came out. It was just a lot going on. So when I'm in that zone, I can't write at all. Like especially traveling and stuff. So I've scheduled a lot of stuff, and just even for myself, just like, hey, the next 3 hours you're writing right now. And that definitely got me back on the path. And when I'm writing, I actually feel a lot like mentally happier and just inspired, because it's like, as an artist, you want to create, and when you're not fully creating, if you're just performing, I love to perform. Absolutely. You know, if I just had to perform, that would be fine too. But like, when you get to create and write, and it's like there's this itch that you got to scratch that is so satisfying. And then just knowing that you're starting to collect this batch of songs, just have this collection that sooner or later you're going to go into studio and properly record them and get into the whole process, get into the weeds and do this. That kind of stuff really excites me.
I see your face light up in a way, like thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's true, right? I mean, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You also mentioned that the COVID period was a very creative period.
Yeah.
I find it interesting because Mike Dawes, my previous guest, who will have a question for you later on. For him, the opposite happened. He basically he was on tour so much, and he said he lost kind of purpose. Like, why am I doing this? And he got into this he didn't touch his guitar for 8 months. So so it's interesting.
I had the exact same thing. I think everyone had that.
Yeah.
Everyone had it for different amounts of time. I had it for about the first 3-ish weeks, 4 weeks, because it was like,
now what?
Well, all the gigs were getting canceled. I was like, what's the point? But then pretty quickly I realized, first of all, I was very fortunate that I was already doing a lot of stuff outside of touring. I was courses, teaching, recording sessions, producing, a lot of stuff that I did from like remotely anyways. That was all still going. So when the gigs and the shows and the tours got canceled, I had what's the point of this? But then I realized, like, yes, this is my job, this is my career, but it's also who I am. Like, it makes me happy. It's who, to create. And I needed to do it. So I just kind of started doing it again. It was different, but I very quickly, because I was in such a routine, the consistency of being in the same place every day, it lent itself to like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to schedule, 10 to 4 every day. I'm just going to be in studio and work and and suddenly it was like boom, 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 boom. I started and a lot of work was coming in. I'm very fortunate for like recording work and so, there was a lot of live streams and not that I didn't enjoy those as much, but recording sessions and teaching and stuff like that. It didn't take long for me to snap out of it, which I'm very happy about.
It says something about you as well, that you had that, like, okay, now what? But it took you not that long to get out of that, right? I mean,
I also enjoyed the break because I was going pretty hard as well, and I realized I was very burnt out. So I think I needed a few weeks. Like it was a realization of, yeah. As all the tours and stuff started getting canceled, it went from then it started going, this is good. Actually, I think I need this.
Talking about that, because I also read that you already as a kid you moved around a lot with your parents, right? Who were touring musicians.
Yeah, I mean, just occasional travels with them. Not like they didn't tour like I tour or anything like that.
Okay,
but they would go away a lot on weekends and summer festivals. We would turn into family trips and go festival to festival and like camp or go somewhere in between. But yeah, I was around stages and venues and concerts, festivals a lot from an early age.
How important were and are they for you to become a musician?
Everything, incredibly. Yeah. From the second I was like, aware of anything in life, it was music, and it was very, right in front of us my whole time growing up, and started playing piano at like 6 or 7. But I was always miming along to music and stuff like that before I played anything when I was 3 or 4 or 5 years old. And it was just natural. Like I was never forced into music. It was just always, when you grow up on something and you're into it, you're passionate about it. So
you went to college to study another thing, right? What did you?
I just went for 2 seconds. I was convinced I wanted to go into athletic therapy. So I played a lot of basketball in high school too, but I never took sciences. I never cared. And they were like, you would like this. And I dropped out the first year, like immediately.
And your parents already knew, like, okay, he's going to be a musician or?
Yeah, well, they supported me wanting to do it, but they were like, you didn't even like high school, but yeah, we'll support you. And sure enough, I dropped out in it and then just dove in eventually to doing music full time.
So yeah, I can imagine it's so important to have a voice then who supports you, right?
Oh yeah,
to give you the confidence, because it's insecure existence basically, right? I mean, so many things happen, and like I said, it's vulnerable as well. It's your name up there, and like oh
yeah. Well, as an artist, yeah. I mean, I've had it like reverse, because most people start being a band or an artist and they commit to being at the beginning with no following, with no infrastructure, pardon me, with no nothing, you know what I mean? And it's really hard to build that up from scratch. So in a way, I kind of cheated the system and like built, it all happened naturally, but like, when there was a bit of a following and people that were listening and wanting something, I was like, okay, I'm going to do this now. And it made it, well, not easier, but like a lot of the struggles and hoops that we have to jump through to like just at least build an audience. I already kind of had that, which I was so, and still am so incredibly grateful for. But even just being a working musician is not easy, and it's scary. Like you have to hustle. You have to really want to work. You need to want those gigs. You need to remind people that you're around. Like, hey, if you need that guitar player, if you need this, I'm here. Just a reminder, I'm here. All you're doing is emailing people saying I'm here.
Then there's a Dutch journalist saying, hey, do you have 40 minutes of your time when you're in Rotterdam? You're like, oh, exactly.
If you're fortunate too, yeah. Yeah, if you're lucky.
I'm very grateful for that.
No, I'm saying not you. I'm saying I'm lucky that people want to interview you. So no, it's all good stuff. It's just like you really have to want it, and it's not like a 9 to 5. You know,
Yeah,
Once you leave,
Yeah.
you're done. It's 24 hours. It never ends. And like there's talking about balance earlier, like for me, there's the one thing I really don't have balance in is career, because it is kind of 24/7. I have a hard time turning it off, because it's kind of like there's no office hours. You have to, I'm always scheming. I'm always thinking of things, or I'm always having to deal with things. So
Do you
never
do
ends.
a lot of your management yourself, or?
No, I have a team that helps do not everything, but a lot of the things. But still, I mean, it's your project. So if you care, a lot of people are, they can't be bothered to think about a lot of the other sides of the business and the industry. But I've always kind of been around it. So I'm aware of all these things, and I find them very important to be aware of, because no one's going to care about your business, essentially, if we're going to call it that, which it is, than you, right?
Yeah.
So you have to make sure everyone's keeping up with you, essentially. But like more so creatively, like thinking of ideas and scheming and, what if I did this? What if this person might want to collaborate on it? What if I, what if, it's
But it seems like an interesting position you're in a way, because you're not playing stadiums, right? It's not that you'll show up wherever and it's the 50,000 people sell out stadium, and so you're very close to where everything happens. It's both hard work. In hindsight, you could romanticize that as well, right? Like, back in the day, we played for 300 people.
Oh, yeah, right.
And now you're in the middle of that. So can you imagine? Because yesterday, what struck me, and you said it several times, how grateful you are of those people showing up. And that, for me as an audience, that was it came through. I mean,
I'm glad. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to come sell out my show, how can you not be grateful and thankful? Like, that's what keeps it going, so that we can keep doing this, literally. And all you and everyone else could have done anything else with their time, and to come not only show up to a place, but pay to show up to that place.
Yeah.
That will never go unnoticed. That will never be not appreciated by me. I think eventually, the more and more, I've been doing this a really long time, just in general in music, but like, it's like you live in Eindhoven. It's a beautiful place. The Netherlands is beautiful, but you're just like, it's the Netherlands. It's fine. Yeah. But for me, I come here, I'm like, oh, this is such an amazing place. We take things for granted that we're just get used to, right?
Yeah.
So I always, especially after the lockdown, I take a second every show, even every session or whatever. I just take a second to go, like, not to get all cheesy with it, but I just take a second to go, hey, just remember that you're lucky here. This is amazing. Yeah, you were not doing this for a year and a half or whatever.
I lived in India for a while, and I have to say that the gratitude for this country, I still have it. Also, like, oh man, the train, it leaves on time every time. Like, and then once in a while it doesn't, but hey, who am I to complain about that? But it's an important theme, right? That gratitude, like just in life and in general, right?
Absolutely.
To some sort of energy that
keeps you grounded too.
Yeah.
Because once you start expecting things, you can kind of go a little sour. If you know what I mean.
Frustrated, I suppose, right?
Yeah, and you're always going to get frustrated. But it's just a matter of managing your expectations, managing your perception. It's not easy. I'm out here talking like I've figured out the secret. I haven't. There's some days better than others, but you just have to have little reminders. And it's good to focus on the good things and be like, hey, right, there are all these good things. If you sit around comparing yourself to other people on the internet, you're always going to think you're doing something not good enough. And you just kind of have to not live in your own bubble. But in a way, just be happy in your place and don't really compare. The only thing you should compare it to is your previous self, and your previous experiences. And that helps a lot, I think.
And that makes me think of your previous career, so to say, was with Rose Landrut.
Well, that was just 5 years. They're one of many acts
Yeah,
an
but still
artist playing it.
5 years. It's still. But can you elaborate on that process of really becoming a solo artist? Like,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I started playing gigs when I was 14.
mm-hmm.
So I was still just learning from 14 till I was about 30, 31, 32. All I've done is, hey, are you available for this tour? Can you do this session? We need a guitar player for this band. And I love being a hired gun, freelance guy. It's always fun. Whether it's this band, it's always the same. You're there, play guitar or sing background vocals, do some producing sometimes. And I was like in bands. I had a band with some other friends where we'd write and record some original music just on the side when we're all in town. But switching over to being an artist, it's like, I never ever had like the need to be up front and center, name on the marquee. I'm not an attention seeker. I'm not like a prima donna in any kind.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I get from being an artist is that I can fully just be myself.
Mm-hmm.
Playing wise, I love playing other people's music and I love learning parts. It's really lovely and satisfying. But when you get to just fully be you and people appreciate it, it's like, this is so nice. And I just get to be me. I don't have to like think about it, So I love that. There's nothing more satisfying than just completely, like I said at the beginning, unapologetically, authentically being you. So I love that.
Which is a little bridge to the question Mike Dawes has for you about your style. He asked something like this.
He plays with such feeling and emotion. He's a very good conveyor of emotion. There's some amazing videos I've seen of him online that are just fan filmed, which I think is a real testament. Someone's a really, really sick player when they have really successful videos that are just bootleg fan footage, actual live stuff. That's always a badge of honor for me, for sure. I'm a big fan of his slide playing, but I don't have any experience really with a slide. So for him, I would say, what are his influences in that department? Like what who has he listened to that made him play the way he does with the slide, and how long did it take him to kind of be able to control his playing to a point of playing so evocatively and precisely? Because he's very precise, but he has a very loose kind of feel, and I just wonder who his influences are and how long it took him to feel comfortable with the slide.
Well, I was brought up on the Beatles, so like George Harrison, and like when that Beat anthology came out, they did like Free as a Bird, Real Love. I remember hearing a lot of slide stuff, and it was always like this really nice sound. Once I started getting more serious about guitar, I obviously heard Derek Trucks and started, Bonnie Raitt, Ry Cooder, heard a bunch of the classics. But there was a Canadian guy named Kevin Bright, who's this great, not a sideman guy, but he's got a bunch of his own projects. And he was the first guy that I heard just being incredibly interesting. He'd do some little behind the slide things, some chordal stuff, some droning things, and just, it was not bluesy at all. Not that I'd have anything against blues, but slide is often in a soul or an R&B or a blues kind of genre, and he was using it in all genres and making it really musical, using it more like an embellishment rather than like this novelty for a style. And it really spoke to me. So I got really into him, and that also inspired me to get into open tuning. And just from there, really, I kind of like was really enjoyed and loved his approach because it was just so different. But then I just kind of tried to just do my own thing. No matter what, everything we all play have pieces of everyone else in it. But I tried as hard as I could just to like still run in a different direction with it and just play what's in my heart, in my head. And it's really just not the slide. It's the melody and the feel and the nuance. The slide is just there to embellish it in a different way.
But what struck me yesterday was that seeing you play live and you having the slide on your pinky, I thought, oh, that must have influence on the way you play chords as well, and also then on the way you compose, right, songs. So can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Right. Well, the pinky doesn't live on my finger 24/7. I play just as much finger style.
Yeah.
The show is a bit more slide, I guess, but I started on my ring finger because basically everyone that I loved played on their ring, so I thought that's what you do, and it never felt right. So I switched to the pinky very, very early on. In fact, I found a video of myself playing in a mall in Winnipeg with my old band like 17, 18 years ago. We're like in a shopping mall with a fountain behind us.
Oh, yeah.
And sure enough, I was like, I couldn't remember when I started the pinky, and it was definitely before then already. So I've been pinkying for a while, and it was very early. It was an open tune guitar, and I'm like struggling through it, trying to, I don't know, play behind this. I was just like kind of finding it and figuring it out at that time. But so much of it was on stage. I just throw myself into it. It never felt right on my ring finger. So I just tried the pinky, even though I didn't really know many people that did it on their pinky. And I remember it's like, whoa, this is so much easier for me. It felt a lot better. And I had 3 fingers that I could play chords and do other things with, still play finger style with the slide on. And I just didn't look back. I think it's such a technique, the slide, that you need to just alter it to make it work for you. Because
is the attraction also the intonation, which is very more close to the way people talk, basically, right? We don't talk in pitch the whole time, and like it's in a way more human, so to say.
Well, yeah, slide has that vocal quality because you can play in between those notes.
Yeah,
it's very easy to be out of tune, but sometimes playing out of tune, just inwards, outwards of the note itself, adds really nice color and tension to the notes you want to play. So you can't quite get it the same with fingers sometimes. You can get close, but
some notes I struck me as you're pulling them, and you as an audience, you expect them, and like that tension that goes along with it.
Just hit it. It's just a little flat, but it's kind of fun. Like it gives you that kind of tension, you know?
Yeah. Hey, about questions, my upcoming guest most probably is Robben Ford. Okay, I kind of messed up. The final confirmation of Robben Ford didn't come true. Well, this podcast series is sometimes about trial and error. And since Ariel is such a big Robben Ford fan, I won't delete his question. Is there something you'd like to ask him?
Robben Ford has been a gigantic influence on me. Once I started to get into guitar, and I just like I've been into guitar my whole life, but like once I really started to get serious about guitar, he was one of the first ones where like all the nice guitar playing and like level of sophistication was this combination. And he was I thought he was the king for me. Still is. For a very long time, those Blue Line records and Supernatural, and I don't know, I just put so much time into it. That New Morning concert DVD, I still love that concert so much. Anyways, my question, maybe he's answered this a million times, and I can't really think of a good question, to be honest, but maybe this is generic, maybe it's not. So obviously he had his history. He's played with some heavy hitters, I remember in the 80s. And once he started focusing more on blues, where did he start getting his, really into infusing his jazz vocabulary into his blues playing? I feel like he's the king of the altered scale, king of getting from that 1 to the 4 chord and that 5 to the 1 chord, and just those transitions.
That's what makes his playing so interesting, right?
Absolutely. But just to... he's always done it so tastefully and, with the best feel and tone. And that's all his hands, I bet if Robben picked up a shoe plugged into a microwave, it's going to sound just as good as a dumble. But I guess maybe he's answered this 10 million times. But what inspired him to kind of just develop his phrasing more and infuse more of those, the altered scale melodic minor stuff, whole tone stuff into his playing. And yeah, we love you, Robben.
We're going towards the end of this interview. One thing I'd still also like to ask you, you mentioned some skills, and in another interview you said, well, basically it just takes time to learn and focus, right? You still deliberately take that time to learn?
If I'm working on something, yeah, you have to. The only way you're going to figure it out is by working on it. When I was learning stuff and working on it, it was all I did nonstop. And then I was gigging every night always. So like that was where application in context was very helpful, because I could take what I was working on at home. You could do it as many times at home, and it's not quite the same as applying it in a song with a band on stage. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to this day too, I mean, whether it's songwriting, guitar playing, a lick or anything, you just have to hit it hard and keep doing it. I'm not the greatest example because it's so busy these days. As much as I'd love to say I'm a perfect shining example of practicing, I'm not. I just try to stay in shape. My goal is that if I'm not able to touch the guitar for a few days and I have to jump onto a stage or jump into I'm ready to go still. So it's like strength training or conditioning. I just always want to never lose the feel, never lose like the mindset. And no matter what, if you're not going to play for a few days, like I step away for a few days many, many times. I think it's good for me to clear my head and just reset. But the feel remains intact, and like that's the most important thing. So just always being ready to go is so important to me. And that just comes from a lot of the practicing these days is just playing, just mindlessly see where it goes, see what happens, build a groove.
And then you hit the pause button if something happens that you think, oh, wow,
absolutely.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Pull out the voice memos maybe and record it. Yeah, absolutely. That's how I get a lot of ideas for songs, just messing around.
Thank you so much, Ariel Posen, for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Being a guest.
And thanks for coming last night.
Thank you.